Have you ever dreamt about taking a cruise on one of them fancy boats, soaking up the beauty and the magic just to free your soul? And floating on the ocean, just a notion that seems out of reach. One thing on your bucket list is just to go and see the beach. You wanna see the world, but something always holds you back. You got that itching feeling, but your dreams got hijacked. There's lots of people out there that never get to cruise, but helping hands is helping making dreams come true.
Helping hands for cruising, cruising. Helping hands for cruising, cruising. Helping hands for cruising. Making your dream a reality.
You know you gotta do the things you've only dreamed about. Don't let anything stop you thinking you can't go all out. You can do the things you never thought were possible with helping hands to help you get there. Even oceans are no obstacle. You wanna see the world, but something always holds you back. You got that itching feeling, but your dreams got hijacked. There's lots of people out there that never get to cruise, but helping hands is helping making dreams come true.
Helping hands for cruising, cruising. Helping hands for cruising, cruising. Helping hands for cruising. Making your dream a reality.
So if you ever dreamed about taking a cruise in one of them big old boats, soaking up that sun, feel that breeze, yeah, there is still hope. Don't let the ocean be a notion that is out of reach. Let's get together, help each other, and go see the sea. You wanna see the world, but something always holds you back. You've got that itching feeling, but your dreams got hijacked. There's lots of people out there that never get to cruise, but helping hands is helping making dreams come true.
Helping hands for cruising, cruising. Helping hands for cruising, cruising. Helping hands for cruising. Making your dream a reality. Helping hands for cruising, cruising. Helping hands for cruising, cruising. Helping hands for cruising. Making your dream a reality.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Helping Hands for Cruising here. My phone's running a little slow this evening, so y'all forgive me. What we got this evening is I've invited some musical friends of mine up. We have Mr. Eddie Huddle from Huddle Adventures, Mr. Marshall from Mellow Nomadic Adventures, and Mr. Greg from Mr. Greg Welch from SET Adventures. What we're going to do this evening is we're just going to sit around and chill. Y'all have some fun. We're going to talk about our musical influences, maybe pick a little bit from some of our musical influences if we feel so inclined, and just try to have a good time for about an hour or so and see if we can't raise some money for a really good cause, the Helping Hands for Cruising. We'd like to thank all y'all for coming in. We got one more guest we're waiting on. And down in the basement, we have the one and only marvelous Miss Meg, who, I'm not going to lie to you good people, she is running the show tonight. So y'all give her a round of applause. How's everybody doing this evening?
Doing good. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Can everybody hear me? Can I hear everyone?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, like I say, what we're here for is the Helping Hands for Cruising, a very worthy cause. What they do is they take people who, due to maybe disability or lack of funds, have never been able to cruise in their life, and they give them the chance of a lifetime to get on a cruise. And for those of us that have cruised, we know that that first cruise is something you'll never forget. Pretty sure everybody on the, except for maybe Mr. Marshall, Mr. Mellow Nomadic Adventures, has been on way more cruises than I have. I've been on 2 in my lifetime, but I don't care if I go on 100. I will never forget my first one and the joy that it brought me in life. So to me, that makes this a worthy cause to show someone else what it's like. to have that first experience. So we're going to start off here. We're just going to talk about our musical influences, if you will. It can be whatever range you want. Just lay it on us. Mr. Eddie, you mind if we start with you, sir?
Yeah.
And how long you been playing or what have you? Just tell us what you got.
Well, I've been playing since the mid 80s. I started playing when I was like 15, 16 years old. And it's one of the hobbies I've maintained, continued doing my whole life. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey guys.
There
I
you go.
never stopped doing it. It's something I've always done for fun. When I was younger, I played in some bands, in the 80s. I did for a little while, about a year and a half, 2 years, I tried messing around with that and found out I liked jamming with the band, but I did not like doing shows. I didn't like dragging all that equipment around and fighting about what we're going to play and all that stuff. It got old in a hurry. So, but it's just something I do, like when if I'm stressed out or, having a bad day, having a good day, whatever. It's just one of those things that I want to do whenever I can fit it in. So, yeah, that's how I started, and that's why I keep doing it.
All right. Well, who would you say were your most influential people that you heard play and just really got you interested in music? Said, "Hey, I want to learn to play some instrument."
My dad was he was a big influence on me. He had a pretty extensive collection of music. So when I grew up, he had the old 8-tracks. You guys remember the 8-tracks? I used to go through his 8-track collection, and he had a lot of Rolling Stones. He was more of a Rolling Stones. I know you guys know the old argument, Beatles or Stones. My dad was a Stones guy, and he had a lot of, Cream and, Eric Clapton. And so I was raised a lot on that kind of stuff. So I would say Stones, Clapton was probably the earliest thing I could remember where I was like, what is that? That's guitar. And, later in the 80s, when I was probably actually 79, around that time, my first cassette was AC/DC Back in Black. So you got Angus Young in there and AC/DC having a big influence on me. But the guy that made me want to buy a guitar was Eddie Van Halen. And when I heard Eruption for the first time, I said, oh my God, what is that? I had no idea what it was. And I was just mesmerized by it. And then that's what got me to play guitar. And ironically enough, he's probably not the biggest influence on my playing. It's more about his tone and his approach and his creativity. And he's got his own unique way of playing. And I never felt the need to try to play like him. So it's kind of one of those weird things. But like everybody else plays guitar, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, Clapton, Jeff Beck, R.I.P. He just died last week. Guys like that, Jimmy Page, those are the guys that influenced me to play.
All right. Thank you, sir. And yeah, that's worse influences to have, I promise you. Not to say, though, I'm a Beatles guy. I'm sorry. I don't think there's ever been 4 better people combined that never put out any music than the Beatles. They were just the right people at the right time, no doubt about it. And as far as the 8-tracks go, absolutely. Because before the 8-track was in the console, you had the 8-track under the dash, as they would say. That was actually advertised on some older vehicles. Mr. Greg Welch, what about you, sir? Uh-oh. Am I here?
I don't hear him.
Oh. Okay, we'll come back to him. What about you, Mr. Marshall, sir?
So let me flip my camera back. Hold on. There we go.
I want to say something before you start. I have actually had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Marshall in person and jamming with him. And I don't know if he carries guitar with him. I know he carries a ukulele. But we met in Branson, Missouri. And he took over my guitar one evening. I took over his ukulele. This guy is a very, very nice guitar player. Plays real pretty, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you, Paul. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, for me, I grew up, during the '80s, so a lot of '80s music was definitely inspirational to me. Uh, the biggest, I guess, moment for me with music is in the late '80s, like when the hair metal bands were coming out. I mean, of course, we had Stones back then, but it was like, Skid Row. I was a big Skid Row fan back in the day, and eventually, like a year or two after that, Nirvana was exploding onto the scene, and I just fell in love with that type of music. But a huge fan of classic rock. I appreciate all music, really, but really, it's the rock and roll, blues, alternative, those types of genres that I gravitate towards.
Okay, thank you, sir. I love the blues myself. To me, this is just my humble opinion, but we owe everything, uh, or anything in music. Nobody has invented new notes. It's all the same notes. It's just
Right.
what they did with them. But to me, we owe everything today to the old blues men who more than paid their dues. I promise you. Uh, and I'll add on to that here in a minute when I get to my influences and why I love the blues so much. Mr. Jimmy, would you like to share with us your influences, sir?
Sure. I'm with you, Paul. When you talked about the Beatles, I was born in the '60s and grew up in the '70s and went to graduated high school in the early '80s. So the Beatles were definitely a huge influence. I can remember as a little kid listening to all of my uncle's albums. He gave me the Stones and Jimi Hendrix albums and Beatles albums, of course, and I just couldn't believe the harmonies that I heard coming out of the Beatles. I was astounded as a young boy, and Paul McCartney especially. And I had a guitar in the house. It was actually my brother's, and I decided I would kind of steal that on him and taught myself out of the Mel Bay Guitar Method book some chords. And
Thank God for Mel Bay.
yeah, I think we all had a Mel Bay book at one time.
Oh yeah.
But I learned early on as an aspiring musician that all my friends were guitar players. So I got a bass really, really early. And of course, I wanted to play like Paul and Yes, Chris Squire from Yes, and Geddy Lee from Rush, these progressive rock bands I was really intrigued by. So I found that I could get more work as a bass player than I could as a guitar player. So I play both. I play more guitar now, but yeah, it was the Beatles and then a lot of the progressive bands through the '70s is what influenced me.
All right, thank you, sir. And yeah, I never will call myself a professional musician. I've never played quote unquote for money. I have played gigs where there was a tip jar. Uh, but yeah, it's a whole lot easier to get paid as a bass player than it is a quote unquote lead man. I promise you. How about Mr. Greg? Are you with us, sir?
I hope this thing's working now. Can you hear me now?
All right. I really, really am
Hey, Greg.
interested in your take on who influenced you. I know you do a lot of gospel stuff, and I'm a huge fan of the Southern. Well, I'm just a music fan, y'all. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm Heinz 57 when it comes to music. I mean, I'll explain that here in a minute. But if you would, please tell us who turned you on, sir.
Well, I was probably the only teenager in high school that rode around with 12-inch subs in his truck, blaring a mixture of the Cathedral Quartet, um, Pyromania from Def Leppard, and Randy Travis. So um, it was a mixture of all of it. And growing up, I mean, I loved it all. I really got into Southern gospel in high school. I was in choir in high school, and I don't know if you ever remember the country singer Daryl Singletary, but he was in choir with us, and along with his little brother Kevin.
Yes, sir. I ain't never had too much fun.
Yeah, and his first cousin Craig. In fact, his first cousin Craig and I and his little brother Kevin, we had a quartet in high school, along with their uncle Sid. There was the Singletary family, really, is what it was called, and that's where I got started in Southern Gospel. And after high school and in my early 20s, I went and dabbled around in full-time Southern Gospel for a little while, which is where I really learned to play piano and guitar and that sort of thing. And then, you know, after a few years in that, I came back home, got married to the lovely Miss Felicia. And even still today, I still play in a cover band that we do 80s rock and some country. And I still play at church. In fact, with Craig Singletary, the cousin of Daryl, we lead worship at church together. So still mess around with it all. You know, if you get the moniker of the world's okayest guitar player, I'll take that for the world's okayest piano player. So, but yeah, that was my influences growing up, talking about the hair metal bands of the 80s. I mean, I went to every Bon Jovi, Def Leppard concert you could imagine in the 80s, and then turn around. You know, I think the Bible says something about straddling the fence, but I was doing that and going to the Kingsman Quartet and Cathedral Quartet concerts too. So anyway, I loved it all. Bluegrass, you name it, everything. So that's mine.
Well, thank you, sir. And you know that you brought up the I'm a huge fan of Southern Gospel, and to kind of hit on one family, when you think of Southern Gospel, one of the first people that come to my mind is Jimmy Swaggart. You know, that guy just plays as pretty of a Christian piano as you ever heard. Of course, that whole family, if you know anything about that family, is just as talented as, well, I say the whole family. There's three people in that family that are as talented can be. You got Jimmy Lee Swaggart, Mickey Lee Gilley, and then, of course, Jerry Lee Lewis. Now, to answer my own question about musical influences, of course, it started early on, just riding in the vehicle and having the radio on, you know. And my dad, God rest his soul, he had as interesting of a musical taste as you could get. I mean, I remember we'd always go on family vacations back in the day, and he was a truck driver, so sometimes, you know, he'd drive through the night, and there were nights we'd catch I don't know if any of y'all know this or not, but 650 WSM on Saturday nights out of Nashville, Tennessee. You got the Grand Ole Opry, and you know, you'd hear Roy Acuff, and which I liked his stuff, which turned me on. I'm gonna try to pick a spell here, y'all. The lady I refer to as the queen of country guitar, if you will, the great Mother Maybelle Carter. So y'all plug your ears. You know, a little bit of the old Wildwood Flyer. And I know we took a family vacation one time down to Florida, and we all brought our own music to listen to. And I swear to you, we listened to everything on that trip, from Roy Acuff to ZZ Top and everything in between, the Beatles. And a guy that I think was probably the most influential guitar picker of all time. I think he started out with a guy named Lowell Folsom. I don't know if any of y'all know him or not. Was a jazz guy. But I know you know the guitar player, a guy named Chuck Berry. I don't know any guitar player on the planet that hasn't mimicked a Chuck Berry lick or two along the way. And to me, Chuck was just amazing. Like I said, he was one of those that came along, the right guy at the right time. When he did what he did, nobody had done that before. You know, he just blew people's minds. But what we're doing here tonight, like I said, is we're trying to raise some money for Helping Hands for Cruising. And I don't know if Miss Meg is still with us or not, but it's a very worthy cause. And to make sure that we're not just up here talking music, I have some videos lined up. Some friends of mine have been so kind as to cut me some little short videos on why they love cruising. And some of them have went back and relived their first cruise, if you will. So, Miss Meg, if you're with us, if you would, please roll the first video.
Hey gang, Sherry here. And what do I love about cruising? I think the main thing that I love about cruising is that it just makes me feel so free. I love the freedom of it all. You know, you just feel like you're on top of the world, and it's just the freshest, cleanest air you've ever breathed in your life. And, you know, it's great food, it's great entertainment, and it's great friends and loved ones that you're with. And that's what I love about cruising. We have just made such a phenomenal cruise community, and it's just something else. I enjoy every single one of you, love every single one of you, and love our cruise community.
Agree.
Absolutely. And for y'all that don't know, that was Miss Sherry of Sherry Awesome Sunsets. Uh, how about anybody on here? Any of y'all want to tell us about your first cruise or what you love about cruising?
I will. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
My first cruise was in 2017, and it was Laura and I had got married in January of 2017, and we both have 3 kids, and obviously our kids are older, and we were talking about should we have a wedding reception or not, and she made a joke and she said maybe we should just take them all on a cruise, and she had been on like I don't know 6 or 8 cruises before Eddie, and I said, hey, that sounds like a lot of fun. So that's what we did. We took our 6 kids. My father passed away in 2001, and Laura's passed away, I believe, in 1996. Both of them were very young, and that's one of the reasons why we like to cruise so much. But that opened my eyes to traveling, it opened my eyes to cruising, and it was on Enchantment of the Seas with Royal Caribbean, one of their oldest ships, a little ship. We did a 4-day Bahama cruise, and I remember the first night on the ship, I woke up in the middle of the night and I could feel the ship moving a little bit, and I realized, hey, I'm on a cruise ship. So I walked out on the balcony, looked up in the sky, and saw endless stars. It felt like I was seeing quadruple. There's so many stars, and you could see the curvature of the ocean out in the distance. And there's no other lights around. It was a perfect night because the smokestack, everything was blowing on the other side. So I was able to see a perfectly clear sky. It made me feel like I was that big, like a little speck of dust in the universe. It's almost like being out in space. But it was such a cool experience, and those experiences kept continuing over the next 4 days. I remember we got to Bahamas. I looked at that water, and it was blue like on TV when I was a kid. And when you're on these islands, and it reminds me of like Gilligan's Island and stuff. Growing up as a kid, I thought I'd never see anything like that because I was a poor kid growing up, and we never went on vacations, never went anywhere. And as an adult, it wasn't in my DNA to go on vacations. So my ex-wife and I never went. She never wanted to go on vacation. So now I'm addicted to cruising, obviously, and I can't get enough of it. And I will never, ever, ever forget the first cruise, like Paul said earlier. It's in me. It will never go away, that feeling.
Amen. Amen, Eddie. How about anybody else? Anything y'all want to share with us?
Sure, I'll go, I guess. I took my very first cruise in 2019, so it was not that long ago. I had talked about this in somebody's live stream earlier today, but I was always the kind of guy that got on an airplane and wanted to get to that destination as quick as I could, and get to the hotel and then get out on the beach or go discover the city that I was in. And I never really, cruising wasn't on my radar at all. And my lovely wife, Colleen, she comes from a big family, a lot of sisters, and they go on sister trips usually once a year. And they had done a couple of cruises. And she said, I think you'd like a cruise. You should go. And I was like, geez, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's for me. But I said, look, if you want me to try it, I will. And getting on a cruise ship or just pulling up to it was the first thing that that amazed me how big they were. You know, you see pictures of things on TV, but being there in real life doesn't do it. It's kind of like the Grand Canyon. You know, you see pictures of that, and the pictures really don't do it justice until you actually see it. And for me, the size of those ships was the same thing. And then once I got on it, it was, to me, it was like being on the Las Vegas Strip, as far as the glitz and the lights and the action, and walking into that atrium, and then just spending time on the ship and meeting the people, and then the ports of call, you know, going out on the balcony, like you said, at night, watching the sun go down, and then seeing how dark it is and how many stars you can see. Watching the sun come up in the morning. I'm an early riser, so and we had a balcony, and I sat out there in the dark with my coffee and watched the sun come up, and it just opened up a whole new perspective for me on traveling, and I was hooked from there. We could have just floated around for several days without stopping anywhere, and I think I would have been satisfied. It just amazed me, and from there I was hooked. So I've taken 2 cruises. 2020 was my last one, and we've booked another one for this year. Unfortunately, I won't be doing the March cruise, but we'll be doing the booze cruise in October. So, yeah, I'm a big fan now.
Thank you, sir. You know, to me, that's the I've only been on 2 cruises. Let me see if I can get my camera to work here. Year before last, in December, I went on my first cruise with the Mardi Gras, and then this past was it July into June, we took the Valor, me and the marvelous Miss Meg, out of New Orleans, and you know, wow, it's kind of, you know, I thought, well, man, I'm gonna feel trapped on this ship. This is gonna sound corny, probably, but I've never felt more free, alive in my life than on a cruise ship. And it's just an amazing feeling when you get out there. And the cool thing was on the first one, like I said, I'm gonna get corny here, but I got to see a lightning storm at sea. You have never seen phenomenal until you see a lightning storm at sea. Nothing to block it, just Mother Nature at her best. And you know, a lot of people, you hear these people talk about, well, once you've been on, they told me, of course, you know, once you've been on the big ship, I said my first ship was on the Mardi Gras, then the Valor. Like, well, you're gonna hate the Valor because it's so much smaller. Love the Valor, absolutely loved it. I'm beginning to think I just love cruising. It don't matter to me what ship it's on. I just love the whole cruising lifestyle there, if you will. Because people were like, we know the Mardi Gras is big and bad, and it was, but the Valor had things the Mardi Gras doesn't. Had the what's the little gathering area with the little bar, the little band stand, and it's like the
Atrium.
first floor you come into atrium.
Yeah.
Mardi Gras didn't have an atrium, and to me, this is my personal opinion, humble opinion, you can't beat a good atrium. That is an
Can.
amazing feeling. You just sit there, and we played trivia there one time, and wound up 2 young ladies were sitting close to us. We wound up kind of forming a little team for trivia. I think we got beat like we stole something, but we still had a blast. You know, Marshall, we got to get you on a cruise, my friend.
Yes, for sure. I've never been on a cruise with at least not like you're talking about. Now I did when I was working as a corporate trainer back in my restaurant days. They took us on an outing. We were actually up in Elkhart, Indiana, opening the Texas Roadhouse there. And for our team building outing, they took us out on a houseboat on Lake Michigan. So a very smaller cruise than what you all are talking about. But that was still cool nonetheless. We were out in the middle. It felt like the ocean.
Hey, that's
The
still
lake was
fun, you know,
so
before I
big. But
ever,
yeah, I would love to be out there.
yes, sir. Well, before I actually went on a quote unquote sea
Yeah.
cruise, then the Branson meetup, I guess it was year before last. You guys forgive me. It all runs together here. And we did the Branson Bell out on the lake. That was very nice. And
Cool.
That same year, I guess I went to, or year before that, I went to, no, it was that same year, I guess. I went out to San Diego to meet up with some YouTubers. Beach Please, uh, Just Dave, Mark McClure from the Cruise World was there. Midlife Crazy, Brad, he was there, and Honey Skiles from the Beach Life was there, and we did a dinner cruise on a some sort of yacht, riverboat, whatever, you know. That was fun too. That'll get you used to it. But I'm saying, I'm gonna tell you, my experience is that first day. If I could bypass the first day of cruising, I'd love it a whole lot more. That first day is always, like I said, I've only been on 2 cruises. That first day is hectic for me. Uh, just a pain in the you know what. But that's that first day after you get settled in, and you know it don't matter. You know, if you want to sleep half the day, you sleep half the day. If you want to get up and go have breakfast, coffee, whatever you do, it's like the ultimate freedom. And to me, the coolest part about it is, I'm a truck driver. I have been all over the United States, top to bottom, east to west, border to border, umpteen times. But I got on a cruise at Port Canaveral, Florida, my first cruise. And for actually, people think, you know, there's people out there think cruising costs so much. Well, it really doesn't. Cruising don't cost you no more than a real good, nice land vacation will cost you. This old country boy went to Honduras on his first cruise. I'd been to Mexico before, you know, snuck across the border. But I got to go to Honduras. I'm like, you know what? That's pretty cool.
That is
And I
cool.
drink a little bit every now and then, not much. But to me, that's one of the cool parts about the cruise. You can get on there, get as snockered as you want to, and you ain't got to worry about no DWI. So,
That's
but
exactly right.
back to the reason why we're here. And once again, thank you, gentlemen, for coming up, talking a little music with me. For those that don't play, you'll never understand how cool this is. Just sitting around, you know, having fun, talking music with different musicians. Miss Meg, if you would, please roll the next video of those people telling us about their first cruises or what they love about cruising, please, ma'am.
Oh, you want me to talk?
Bon Beanie.
Bon Beanie. Thank you for joining it. No, wait. What are we? Paul, is that hello? What are we doing here?
Who are you talking to?
Why are we here? We're not. This isn't. Is this even our place that we? That's your background.
Yeah, that's our background.
What? Why are we here, Kimbra?
Well,
I don't mean that in a deep existential way, by the way. I'm just.
We are here.
This one is one of my favorites.
On the planet of the Earth, and to talk about why we love cruising.
Oh, well, that's easy enough. Why do you love cruising?
Because it's on the water.
Okay.
That's part of it.
Okay.
It takes me to places that isn't here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down with that so far.
I like that I can pay for it all up front.
Convenient, easy.
Yeah.
Affordable.
Yeah. Food.
Oh yeah. The food. Yeah. That's good. I like the food. Food is good.
Creatures.
I like food. Food is good. Creatures. That's what I was waiting for. I'm like, really? Are we not fantastic cruising? Like the creature people?
I figured I'd name the obvious first.
Oh.
The obvious for most.
I was gonna say the obvious for us is creatures.
Well, yeah.
I think. Yeah, creatures. It's just an easy, stress-free, affordable way to travel to get to places where there's cool creatures and to eat food along the way.
And you can drink as much as you want within reason and not have to drive home.
Yes. As long as it's not the morning you're getting off the ship.
Well, yeah, there's that.
And as long as you're not driving the ship.
Also that.
Anything else?
You're Matt?
Oh, yes, I am. I'm Matt. We already did that.
No, we didn't.
What?
No.
Oh, I'm Matt.
And I'm Kimbra.
And our names are down there, right? Kimbra and Matt.
Yeah, and we're with Fantastic Cruising.
All right, Paul, thanks for inviting us onto your live. Don't forget to donate some money to Helping Hands for Cruising. Thank you so much. Let's help other people cruise that wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do all those cool things.
And seize the day.
Have a fantastic whatever.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was cool.
If any of y'all that don't know those, that is Miss Kimbra and Mr. Matt from Fantastic Cruising. And if you think they were putting on airs in that video, they weren't. That's them. 100%. I love them to death. Absolutely love them. I got a few more of those. I don't know how many we'll get to. Like I said, just want to reiterate, we're here for Helping Hands for Cruising. This is as great a cause as I think I've ever. If anybody knows me, I don't go live. I just don't. I don't even know if y'all can see me with that light in the background. I look better in the dark. Mom always said I had a voice made for radio or a face made for radio. But that's what this is about. Getting somebody that's never had that opportunity. If you think back to your first cruise and you're hooked on it now, you know what I'm talking about. That first cruise, you're like, oh yeah. And, you'll never forget it. So that's what we're here for, is to give somebody maybe with disabilities that can't do it or hindered financially from doing so, but, definitely deserve the opportunity to go. That's what this is about, giving them that opportunity. And this isn't we don't have a pool of people, hey, you people donate and we're only going to put these people on cruises. If you go to the Helping Hands for Cruising website, there are links on there that you can nominate somebody. No matter who it is. It can be your brother, the dog catcher, whoever you think is worthy. And they have a board, the Helping Hands for Cruising board of members. They will get that little video that you send them, nominate somebody. And then it's, I don't know how they do it, but they go through a process of, they talk about it and figure out who they're going to put on there. But to me, that's money well spent. It don't matter if you can give $1, $10, $100. Giving somebody that opportunity, and even if they never go on another cruise after that, the fact that they got that one under their belt, they'll probably spend the rest of their lives trying to get back on another one. So like I said, that's what we're here for. And once again, thank you, gentlemen, for coming up with me. I don't do live, so I'd have been lost without y'all. So I have a question, if you will. If you feel like answering it, fine. If not, if you could have played in any band, who would it have been? And we'll start with Mr. Eddie Huddles, if you don't mind, sir.
Oh, put me on the spot, Big Paul. Let me think for a minute. This would be kind of weird, but I would have to say, being a kid of the 80s, probably play with one of the new wave bands, or like someone with like Billy Idol, or play with like Duran Duran or The Cure, one of those bands. Believe it or not, that would be the type of bands I would have loved to played with, because when I picked up the guitar because of the the blues and rock guys, the classic rock guys stuff. But when I was really, really starting to play, I was into all that kind of music too. I have a very diverse music listening. I got something in my collection to offend everybody. That's what I always say. But I love everything. One of the things I do on TikTok, I do I'll take like current R&B and pop songs and play leads over top of them. And it's usually inspired by our kids. They'll tell me, hey, do one to this song or that song or whatever, and I'll do it. And it's just all ad-lib, played right over top of it, stuff like that. So I would say I'd want to play in one of those bands, because those are the bands that back when I had hair, and it was all spiked up and, and had the killer mullet, those are the bands I really liked when I was first starting to learn how to play. You can't start off out of the gate playing Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan and stuff, but you sure can play The Cure, and you can play Duran Duran and all that easy stuff. So that's what I was playing in the beginning.
Well, that's the the whole linchpin, if you will, of the 80s and 90s music. And I think that's why we all love it because it's fun. You don't have to be great to play 80s or 90s music. You just got to be good. Name a band in the 80s or 90s you just like, oh man, they were so solid musically. Very few, but they were all good. That's why we loved it. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, how about you, Mr. Welch?
You know what? I mean, I was sitting here thinking when you said that, and there's so many of them. But I've been on a kick here lately, listening to Keith Whitley, and I'd probably like to go back and play piano in his band back in his highlight of his career. I mean, he was phenomenal. You know, um, we sing some of his songs.
Absolutely.
He was just really good.
Yes, sir. Okay, Mr. Jimmy with the Astute Tourist. You got anything?
That's a tough question. I'm sure it is for all of us. I mean, there's so many bands. You talked about our influences, and of course, the people and players that influenced us. I think we've all dreamed about jamming with those guys at some point in our life. But I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking, and I keep having Leonard Skinner come to my mind.
It's a good one.
Those guys are just. I don't have to tell any musician, the quality of that band, and they were a big band. I mean, what were there? 3 guitar players up front, and the bass player, a piano player, drummer, singer. Just amazing band. And if I could go back, I would probably pick one from every decade, but that's probably one of the top ones. I mean, thinking about what Eddie said about the 80s, there's a band, there's probably a band in the 80s that I would have liked to play with. I saw Eddie Lugo talk about Rush. I mean, Rush is one of my top 5 bands that I love and were influenced by. I think I'd be intimidated by playing with those guys, though. They're just so damn good. But yeah, I think Skinner for me would be the band if I could go and play with. So.
All right, thank you, sir. I want to show a little something here real quick. This is y'all get a kick out of this, and you'll laugh at me. Like, you ever been somewhere and people say, "Play Skinner, play Skinner"? I'm like, what you brought up was a great point. Skinner had 3 fine guitar players, and I don't know how many of y'all know this. Probably all of y'all, because y'all are studied musicians. Number 1 song, "Freebird." Well, okay. Their piano player, they found him by mistake, if you will, because they were recording down in Muscle Shoals. And during a break, they somehow discovered that their roadie was a concert pianist that played the intro to Freebird. And people say, "Well, play some Skinner." Okay. Yeah, that's what one guitar player sounds like trying to play 3 guitar parts at once.
Right.
Just saying. All right, Mr. Marshall, how about you, sir?
I think it would have been awesome to jam with there's so many classic bands like The Doors and Pink Floyd. That would be so amazing. Van Morrison, artists like or bands like that. I think it would be a lot of fun to pick with for sure.
Oh yeah. To me, I take more maybe a little simpler approach. I grew up I spent a lot of time with my granny over in Texarkana, Arkansas, during the summer, and she listened to. There was 2 shows that come on that you couldn't say a word during. One was Hee Haw. That's how country we are, and the other was the Lawrence Welk show. So that kind of influences my decision. If I could play for any band, there's 3. 2 of them aren't around anymore. One was Bob Wills and the West Texas Playboys. Not that their musicians were the greatest, but they were as tight as could be. The other would have been for Lawrence Welk, because love him or hate him, from a musical standpoint, he had as good of musicians on that stage as you could find. And the other one is modern, and that would be the man. If I didn't have my headset on, I would take my hat off when I mention his name, the great George Strait. Their bands are as tight can be, at
King
least in my
George.
humble opinion. Yes,
That's
sir.
awesome.
He never strayed from, whether you like that music or not. Like I was telling Brother Eddie there earlier, I'm not a huge Jimi Hendrix fan as far as I love his music, but I have nothing but respect and admiration for that man for what he did and the influence he has had on other musicians because he was innovative. Before him, people were good, some were great, but he took it to a whole new realm. And of course, Eddie Van Halen. Even Steve Vai, as great as Steve Vai was, I've heard interviews of him, and he's just in awe, if you will, of the stuff Eddie Van Halen innovated. And I'm like, Steve Vai, this guy went to Juilliard. He can write orchestra scores out. This guy is brilliant musically, and he tips his hat to Eddie Van Halen. So, of course, Michael Jackson would tip his hat to him, but from what I hear, he wouldn't pay him. That's a long story, though, I guess. So, let's see. We got about 13 minutes left here, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thank you, gentlemen, for coming up here because I'd be lost without you.
Hey, Paul.
Miss Meg, if you would, please roll us another video. People telling us what they love about cruising and reliving their first cruise, if you will, please, ma'am.
What do I love about cruising? Everything. But if I have to narrow it down a little bit, I would say that it's the activities on board the ship. They make you interact with other people. They make you come out of your shell a little bit and talk with other people. And I've had a great time. I've had a great time in the casino, playing bingo, playing some of the adult games that are on board, or just simply sitting back and watching a show. All of those things are awesome on a ship, but what's best is that I unpack my clothes and I can go to multiple locations in different places that normally I would never be able to afford to go. And I can do that unpacking one time. And some of the places that we've been able to go to, I would have never been able to afford to go to that place just by traveling to that location. We've been to Aruba and Curacao and Cozumel, Mexico. We've been to Nassau, Bahamas. Each one of them are amazing in themselves. But to be able to do multiple places like that all at one time, go to the beach, go do a tour of the islands, you can't ask for better. That's why I love cruising.
All right, that was the one and only Miss Marsha from CME or See Me Traveling. Comes on at 7:30 a.m. East or Central Standard Time, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Saturday. Thank you, ma'am. Like I said, for those of you that haven't cruised, that's what these videos are for, to give you a little understanding of what we're doing here, what we're raising money for. My first cruise was not a quote unquote group cruise because you were actually probably, well, I can't say that. My next cruise is a quote unquote group cruise, sort of, kind of. But fortunate enough, I was on there with two couples that I knew in case if I got into any trouble, they might would have helped me. But my first cruise was a solo cruise, which was cool because I kind of got to do things at my own pace, see what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. There was no set schedule. Nobody was expecting me to be here for this event or there for that event. But at the same time, I also got to have dinner at night a couple nights with some very amazing people. I don't think they would be offended if I said their names. That would be the heirs, Miss Holly and Mr. Mike out of Michigan. and the Bowens, Mr. J and Miss Michelle out of Florida. Very great people. If you haven't had a chance to meet them, you definitely want to put that on your itinerary of people to meet. They're great, great, great people. And once again, this charity that we're raising money for, I mean, it's unbelievable. It took a very good friend of mine, a guy that I respect a whole lot, Mr. Kenneth Oakes. Great guy. I'm sure everybody knows him. He's always around the community, always showing his support for everybody, everywhere that he can. It took him and put him on his first cruise, and he had some great experiences. Got to see the ocean for the first time. Got to see how blue the water is. He's from northeast Tennessee, which ain't nothing wrong with that, but there's only so much you can see there. So, to me, that's the whole aspect of this is pretty much blowing somebody's mind with their first cruise, if you will. It doesn't matter what you can give, just give what you can give. It doesn't matter if it's $1, $10, $100. It all adds up and it all counts. It don't matter if you're just sharing this out. That is support. And all support helps, I promise you. And before we get out of here, I want to say, once again, thank you to those people on panel for coming up and keeping me from looking like a complete fool. Thank you to all those that showed up. I got a list here. A second, hold on. And up next, we have, let me get my notes here. We have the Clock Family Adventures, Mr. Mike Clock and his wonderful wife, Miss Ricky, hopefully, because she looks way better than he does. No offense, Mike, but you're in the same boat I am. Miss Meg makes me look, yeah. But I said, if you would, please, if you got nothing else to do this evening, please follow after this over to the Clock Family Adventures. And thank everybody for showing up. I haven't been able to keep up with chat. I don't know who's here, who isn't here. This is the only second time I've used StreamYard, and I don't have a clue what I'm doing.
You're doing good,
which
Paul.
is about par for life.
Paul, thanks a lot, Paul.
Thank y'all. I have a question for Mr. Greg. The rest of us here, as far as I know, are guitar players, and I understand Mr. Marshall's going over to the ukulele, which, by the way, that guy plays a beautiful ukulele too, by the way, and a pretty guitar. What made you switch to keyboards, Mr. Greg?
Well, I mean, I always wanted to play the piano. Now, I'm a guitar player at heart too, but with all you professional guitar players, I didn't want to bring my night. So. But I just always wanted to play the piano. It just, it was, just, I don't know. I just liked it. So it was just something as a kid, I always wanted. Every time I was around a piano, I just wanted to sit down and play it. And then so as I got to be older.
Me too. But never got the chance to learn.
It's
never too late, Paul.
No, yeah.
No, it's too late for me, I promise you.
I can teach you everything I know about a piano in about 5 minutes, Paul.
Well, I can teach you all I know about playing guitar in about 3 minutes, but that and $2.59 will get you a cup of coffee down at any Quick Trip. I promise you.
I was teaching myself an Elton John song yesterday. I have a little small Yamaha piano, so not very good at it, but trying very hard. So we'll get there.
I'm not a complete idiot on piano. I mean, I know what notes make what chords on guitar, and I know to hit those keys on the piano to make chords to fill in. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm no great musician, but I can keep a backbeat shuffle going on drums too.
Right.
I can fill in, but I'm no Hal Blaine. But to me, I know we're all guitar players at heart. To me, that piano, though, was always the prettiest instrument. 88 keys, to me, always had more options, if you will, than the guitar did. And, of course, my favorite piano player of all time, Be from Fairdale, Louisiana, the one and only Jerry Lee Lewis. Love him or hate him, I know he's personally, his personal life, whatever. I don't let that interfere with musical taste. That guy to me could, he always amazed me as how he could play the baddest in your face early rock and roll music, and then turn around and play you the prettiest. I mean, the prettiest uh, Southern gospel you ever heard in your life, if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all forgive me here. I'm trying to kill 5 minutes here. Let's go around the horn, if we will. Mr. Eddie, what you got coming up on your channel, please, sir?
All right, well, we're going to do our regular Tuesday night live coming up here. I'm not really sure what we're going to tackle on that one. We're still in the works on discussions, but I'm also going to be revisiting cruise news starting again this week. I kind of took a little break from it for a while because we did so many cruises. We did 4 cruises in 4 months, and I'm still putting together the content from the NCO breakaway. So you're going to see some of that stuff coming out too. So busy, always busy, Paul.
All right. Looking forward to it. Mr. Greg with SCT Adventures. And by the way, Mr. Eddie is with Huddle Adventures. He, and no offense, Mr. Eddie, but his better looking and better half, Miss Laura, always entertaining. Mr. Greg and his better half, the one and only team, hashtag Team White Hat, Miss Felicia. What y'all have coming up?
We just got our Friday night live streams at 7:00. We'll keep rolling those out. I got a few little videos I'm going to put together between now and April. Our next cruise is in April on the MSC Seaside with we'll be on there with our good friends Kurt and Marcia from See Me Traveling, who are currently on the Carnival Paradise. Yeah, we'll just keep rocking on with that, and y'all join us. But other than that, that's about all we got going on, Paul.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Jimmy, the astute tourist, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all got to get up early to watch this man. He is an early riser. Tell us what you have, sir.
Tomorrow morning, I'll be doing my regular early 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time live stream as usual. And we got a trip coming up at the end of March. We're going to be going to Florida, a dual trip to see my folks. And we're going to meet up with JNN Travels, John and Nancy, and hopefully do a collab with them. Then I'm going to be heading out to the west coast of Florida, do a video out there in the Bonita Springs, Fort Myers area, maybe take a look at some of the damage from the storm. And that's about all we got going on now. So, and a few more things to edit, but that's pretty much what we got in the near future.
All right. Thank you, sir. And to the number one nomad on the planet, Mr. Marshall, Mellow Nomadic Adventures. Please, sir, fill us in.
So right now I'm out here in Arizona. There were about 4 meetups. I came out here to attend YouTube meetups, and I'm going to be hanging out here for a few months just doing some work and working on the next kind of phase of my 5-year YouTube plan. We're in year 3 right now, so that it's exciting to embark on this 3rd year. And yeah, working on getting back in the swing of things with posting videos. So there's some shorts slowly getting released right now on my channel. So yeah. One more thing. We do a First Fridays live on the first Friday of every month. So that's like my regularly scheduled thing I do. It's the first Friday of each month, and it's with me. I started out at 8 p.m., I believe, Eastern time, and then it's a 40-minute stream followed by another 40-minute stream from Greg with Fit for Expedition Fun Seekers, and then wrapping up with another 40-minute stream for a total of 2 hours with Ron of Ron Sees America. And we do this trivia with a twist in there, and we give away a gift card at the end. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Thank you, sir. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our show. Up next is Mike Clark and Miss Ricky Clark with Clark Family Adventures. Thank y'all for coming. And a salute to Mr. Greg Welch. I'm going to try to take y'all out with a little piano picking on guitar.